Make it relevant. That's the worst advice we can give to teachers. That's the advice that we've been giving to teachers in education schools for a long time. Make it relevant. Take algebra and make it relevant. Take Macbeth, and all you have to do is make it relevant. That's ridiculous. Because it puts all the power, all the inherent sort of potential learning power on that word make, and it gives that word to the teacher. Our kids are the ones who are relevant. Our kids bring the relevancy of their lives to our classrooms every morning. We don't have to make it relevant for them. The whole thing is relevant. Their lives are relevant and resonant, and our schools are not sort of successful by the relevancy of our curriculum or the relevancy of our assessments or the relevancy of our homework. Our schools themselves are only relevant if we recognize the relevance and resonance of the kids who make up our schools. In Baltimore, Maryland, where I'm from, we've been working through a lot of challenges in education. And the Digital Harbor Foundation was founded not to make school more relevant, but to give kids a place and to give teachers a place where they could just let it happen, where they could get the support that they need, where they could have the technology that they need, and even more importantly, where they could make the connections that they need to take what they're passionate about and extend that into opportunities with a lifelong impact. The program that we run is called EdTech Link, and in this program, we are providing a forum for a cohort of teachers currently to get intensive experiences integrating technology and education, but not just in sort of the normal way, right? Because I'm convinced that the teacher experience itself is traditionally based on one ladder. A teacher would come out of ed school, enter the classroom, and the ladder of progress and development offered to them had to do with maybe becoming a chairman of their department, maybe going into administration, maybe staying that classroom teacher teaching one subject for 35 years. The reality facing teachers now is that there are more ladders available for them to work with. So you have teachers who can start programs that traditionally have been referred to as extracurricular that now are considerably more relevant than the curricular programs. You have teachers who can identify a problem in the classroom and build a technology not because they have a desire to build market cap and scale and sell this technology to everyone they know, but based on their classroom experience, they know that this works as opposed to that. So one thing that we're doing is we're connecting teachers with technologists to build new open source technologies available to everyone based directly on teacher experience. The first thing to come out of this project is a very simple technology that we've put together that, interestingly, we're already getting a bit of flack for. It's called EdPain. So if you go #EdPain, The idea here is that if you look at any industry, they develop products, they develop programs based on the pain points that exist within their user base, right? It goes back to the idea, what we learned in grad school about qualitative methodology, right? Traditional qualitative methodology is driven by individual user experience, interviews, things like that, surveys, right? But then when we sort of go down the road, we see, well, rather than have a hypothesis and then test it scientifically, why not use grounded theory and go out and find out what's actually going on and then create a solution to a problem that exists rather than creating a hypothesis to something that may or may not exist. Taking the relevance of theory, thought, solution, and problem solving out of the direct experience of the researcher and looking at it in terms of what the population can tell us. So the idea in EdPain is we don't know the problems that actually exist in education because Pearson tells us these are the problems that exist in education. We don't know the problems in education because some other damn corporation tells us that this is the problem, and if you just spend $10,000, this is how you're going to solve it. The way that we find out what is wrong in education is to ask teachers, students, parents, administrators, technologists, people who are actually in it every single day. You know, recently there was the big Arizona Innovation Conference. All these VCs and EdTech companies from around the country meet Arizona State University, and they talk about what's going to happen next in education, what's the next big thing. And who's missing from that audience? Who's missing from the audience about what is going on in education? The teachers and the students. And I would argue that without teachers and students involved in the development of the educational technologies that are going to affect the entire broad context of education, that whole system itself is irrelevant. We've been told by technologists that our schools are irrelevant. I say to technologists, your technology is irrelevant without the combined, synthesized efforts of educators, students, and technologists working together. So we started an after-school program called Rec2Tech. And this came out of the experience of Baltimore shutting down its rec centers because they ran out of money. Your neighborhood community rec centers were now being put in the hands of private organizations, and the community itself was being left out of the equation. So we said, what if we do this? One of the biggest problems facing our kids in Baltimore is the fact that Baltimore itself has changed from an industrial manufacturing base to a technological manufacturing base. Digital industry, digital manufacturing, rapid prototyping. These are the types of things that are happening in the manufacturing space in Baltimore. They're exactly the things that are not being taught at all in the traditional curriculum. So how do we go from point A to point B? Well, we go to the community, we bring teachers together, we not only train the teachers, but we create a community of teachers that can go out and build a grassroots movement in our city to create the sort of relevant relationships with the kids. And we pull them into after-school programs. And in these after-school programs, the kids gain digital literacy skills. They learn to build their own technology. And then, in the evening, our kids who are going through this program work directly with their own parents and the kids reverse mentor the parents in digital literacy. And this goes as simple as something from how to make a resume or use LinkedIn, to developing skills in building websites, to where we want things to go, where kids are the ones who are both learning and teaching programming, development, coding, the things that our industry desperately needs in Baltimore, the thing that the people who are the employers desperately want. And when they say we want to hire local, but we have 6,000 unfilled cybersecurity jobs in the Baltimore, Washington metro area, we want to fill those jobs. We don't have the skill set coming out of the high schools, coming out of the community colleges, coming out of our local colleges to actually fill those jobs with people who live here. That's a problem that you don't fix at the end. That's the problem that you have to ingrain ways of thinking related to innovation, related to the ability to pivot, to put sort of a lean model into everything that we do in schools so that kids are not left at the end with nothing but this big structure that got them nowhere, but rather with ways of thinking that can get them wherever they want. I'll give you some examples. A young man by the name of Tavon. Tavon's going in 10th grade this year. He was in our pilot program last year. Our pilot program was called iDev, and it was run by my co-director, teacher from Baltimore City named Andrew Coy. He's at Andrew Coy on Twitter. The iDev program worked so that students in the after-school hours would gain web design and development skills and use them to actually create real things in the community. So Tavon was one of the kids who came in with no knowledge of development at all, and by the end of the year had put together basically the equivalent of his own design company, right? Because in South Baltimore, there aren't any lawns to cut. In South Baltimore, if you're a teenager who wants to make some money, there are ways to do that, but they don't have a long life expectancy. Tavon is a 9th grader, built his own development company, did the website for the leading angel investment firm in the city, did the website for Arena Players, the oldest African-American theater group in the city. Here's the thing about Tavon. All of the work he did, his entire company existed in the after-school hours. Tavon doesn't have a computer at home. Tavon doesn't have internet access at home. If I were to tell anyone that the guy running this web design company didn't have an internet connection, you'd think I was crazy. But that story is happening over and over and over again. I'll give you another example. We have a young man named John who, very strong student, came from a good family, lived in Baltimore City, and got into his top choice college and couldn't go. It's a typical type of story. Don't have the money. Can't go to college, right? What do? We worked with John to develop his skills as a programmer. He's now the lead designer of the STEMX network website, multi-state STEM initiative. He was the mentor for Andre Alonso, CEO of Baltimore City Public Schools, on tech. And he started a program leading other kids, 9th, 10th grade, through the process of becoming web developers so that they can do the same sorts of things. That's the kind of relevancy that we're looking for. It exists. We don't have to make it happen. We have to let it happen. Thank you.